Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and welcome to my reaction to RWBY World of Remnant for Vacuo, and also the analysis as well, forgot to mention that. So yes, it's the last World of Remnant on the Kingdoms now. Again, we don't know if there's going to be any World of Remnants during the run of Volume 4, but we can imagine so to be fact. But yeah, Vacuo, this is a bit of an interesting kingdom, because if I can recall, off the top of my head, the only major character we know of from there is Sun. And we don't really know much else about Vacuo, except from when Sun mentioned that it's not exactly a shirt and tie kind of place. So that's going to be interesting to see what this is like, especially since it's the last Kingdom of Focus. I wonder if there's any meaning behind that. But we're almost at time for Volume 4. So let's see what we got for this. Again, I don't know what's also going to be coming out on the Friday, so we're going to have to play that by ear. But I'm all set. Remember, this is the reaction to begin with, and then straight afterwards we'll go straight over to 2D Dan, and then the analysis. I'm sorry about if I make any burps in that. But let's get ready to go. Switch into the episode now, and we're going to begin in 3, 2, 1. World of Remnant. I wonder what Crow's feeling is on Vacuo as well. He seems to have been a bit indifferent to Mistral, and obviously has some history with Atlas, so let's see what he's like with Vacuo.
Now, if there's one kingdom that's had it harder than the people of Mantle, it's Vacuo.
Oh.
The last of the 4 great kingdoms.
So Vacuo's had it rough?
The western end of Sanus is a barren...
Sanus, yeah, it's definitely Sanus now, that continent.
Long ago, before man went and ruined everything.
Uh-oh.
It was a paradise. In the center of the
an oasis?
desert was an oasis unlike anything you'd ever seen.
So man ruined this place?
With natural resources, geographical defenses, and the world's largest recorded deposit of dust.
So it's a definitely good spot, yeah.
Survived the journey across the scorching sand, settled down in this little hidden gem.
So it's very desert-based, that's cool.
The kingdom of Vacuo thrived. Unfortunately,
lazy asses.
Comfort breeds weakness.
Love the music in
The
this.
rest of Remnant had to learn and adapt in order to survive. Vacuo's ancient society kicked back.
I can imagine this being like a good pirate-based area if it wasn't so secluded in the desert.
Developed kingdoms set their eyes on everything Vacuo had to offer. Its citizens couldn't do anything
Atlas!
to stop them from
Or at least what would be Atlas in the end. Oh, and everyone else. Oh god, they got invaded hard.
conflict, unrestricted mining,
And wrecked.
ecological disasters have changed Vacuo.
The grip. Those are different kind of grim. They don't look like the ones we know already. And that's a Schnee Dust Company.
Citizens live in makeshift homes.
Makeshift homes.
Traveling frequently in response to the fleeting resources.
Damn, they really had it rough.
Creatures of Grim. After the Great War, a formal government was finally established.
So they've got a government.
But by that point, the folks living in Vacuo didn't much
Oh,
care to uphold
they
its laws.
might not have a government now.
Shade Academy, the only
Shade
real
Academy.
source of
Very
order
nice. I love the building.
Order isn't everything.
So that's the only spot of
Vacuo
order?
may not be as prim
That's
as
definitely not a real Goliath head back there.
it's still standing.
It's a bit of a
People
thuggish
there
bar.
have mutual respect for one another. See, there's really
Whoa!
only
That's
unspoken
definitely some new faunus, is there?
If you can survive here, then you're welcome here.
Oh god, I could imagine
So,
Yang
there you
loving
have
that.
it. Veiled,
That might be a place for
Mistral,
her in the end.
Atlas, and Vacuo. You know, Oz would always say that the
Ozpid.
4 kingdoms were a representation of what mankind is capable of when
Good
we
and bad, I can imagine, yeah.
Ever the optimist.
Yeah.
We sure could use him now.
I guess that probably means we're not going to see Ozpin in Volume 4, but yeah, that's it for the reaction to Vacuo. Definitely seems like Vacuo is a very scarred place, and most of it because of the other kingdoms. Very, very interesting. So, that's it for the reaction part. Time to switch over to the analysis. See you in a sec. So if it's not clear enough already, Vacuo really has had the rough life. Same for its people. You have a land that's pretty much lifeless, a wasteland, that is always taking the most out of you and making it hard to survive, let alone be content. can't fault it when the nomads who could handle the challenges were complacent then when they found their paradise, especially since their hurdle is now part of their defenses against the Grim, and they have such a giant deposit of dust to aid their needs. After so much they had to deal with, they could be fair and get one last chance to kick back and relax if they didn't have any kind of struggles to deal with anymore. They just had no need to push forward now, to grow, since they really felt happy with what they had. Which of course became a double-edged sword, since the other kingdoms were doing the opposite. They did grow into powers that could handle the environment, and with the rich amount of dust pocketed in this one spot, you kinda can't blame Vale, Mistral, and what would end up being Atlas for wanting some of it themselves to help their causes. They could have easily have done a better job playing fair, but in this unfair world, sometimes these things happen. Though without question, the episode gives off the vibe that Atlas is the biggest troublemakers here, practically taking over the land and tearing it up into its new mining spot. So team that up with the limited resources left for them, having to live in makeshift homes that constantly have to change locations, the natural disasters they have to deal with, and the dust benefits being stripped away without being able to equal the other strength, you can imagine a lot of the Vacuo people hold great disdain for the other kingdoms, especially Atlas, and likely the Schnee Dust Company too, given their symbol is on the mining stations. I also understand then why the first sign of order and law coming in, being the government, was met with a negative response and has basically been ignored. Why would the people of Vacuo, after being oppressed and stolen from for so long, want to have more control taken away from them with laws and rules? They just want their peace back, to be free men after their struggles. They want their paradise back. Fits then why the only speck of order comes from Shade Academy. Not so much order on the populace, but order when it comes to getting a good education and learning in, because then Vacuo can have the abilities and numbers to fight back, be it against the Grim, the world, or even their fellow man. And yet with all of this, I love so much that there's an air of respect between these people because of what they've gone through. After taking so much crap and being left with the scraps, the people have great respect to others who have the will of the survival of the fittest. It's an emotional mantra to have, and it gives the populace a life of its own outside of its kingdom's personality. These people have had it rough, and yet they will still treat others equally only if they feel they deserve it. Why offer respect to someone who to them hasn't been through the same trials, be it natural, physical, or emotional? Could this be a destination then we see some of our heroes go to gain more numbers to their cause because of this unity that could make for an effective army in the long run? Or maybe it could be where Yang goes to rebuild herself once more into the firecracker that we all know and love, but a bit more capable. She would definitely earn some respect from those in Vacuo after all she's been through. I want to take a detour, by the way, and highlight this image. That's some interesting looking models for the Grim there. It's certainly not a Beowulf look. Instead, these actually look more like rabbits, but with cloaks. What if there's a rabbit-based Grim in Vacuo that use cloaks to protect themselves against the desert storms? On another aspect, I can actually see why it seems that outside of Menagerie, Vacuo is actually the best place for the Faunus. There were quite a lot of Faunus figures in the shots, and it does support why Tuxon was wanting to go there when he wanted to leave the White Fang, because the people of Vacuo respect the Faunus, due to them trying to live their lives to the full despite oppression, torment, and life or death situations, just like them. It makes me wonder though about Sun. Outside of Team Bronze and Indigo, Sun is the most notable Vacuo resident, or at least came from there. We know he moved to Mistral, but why? Well, with how Vacuo is described here, I can imagine that he just didn't want to live in this sort of rough life. It also makes sense then why he's also a rascal type. He's had to live with a bit of rule breaking just to get along, like stowing away on the ship to get into Beacon and pinching food. Skills that I imagine comes naturally when you gotta make the most of what you can in a barren wasteland like Vacuo. So we know Vacuo has had it really the worst when it comes to each kingdom, and was a target in the past. But with Beacon getting rocked though, Vacuo could be feeling a sense of deja vu and be up in arms that another kingdom has been attacked, seemingly by Atlas. More and more of Salem's scheme of dividing the field of balance between the kingdoms for peace makes sense now, when that peace came after the kingdoms had already had a lot of conflict with each other, with some long-lasting effects that last even to this day. If Vacuo becomes very vocal against the actions of Atlas and react aggressively since they can hold their own this time, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's it! All of the kingdoms have had their episode now, and we finally have a better understanding of these places. Vale is a kingdom that has gained a lot from its prime location, large landmass, and the boons of the other kingdoms, but has lost its security and even before the fall had many questioning its leadership. Mistral may be the most cultural, but it's also the most lawless. Its moral center is all over the place, and those who should have control has a very weak grasp, despite its wide coverage. Atlas sought to give its identity a new life, and through the will to survive, they pushed forward, despite leaving its ashes to ignite into a fire of disdain behind them, as they were left forgotten. And Vacuo has had constant struggles just to live, a comfort that also ended up wounding their strength when they didn't grow, and being stripped of their aid and being forced to repeat the process just so they can catch up to the other kingdoms. It's no wonder why the Grimm are such a worldwide threat then. The 4 kingdoms may be grand and bring their own strengths, but they have so much negative aspects spawning from within that it's a real struggle to quell the swarm of negative feasting monsters. And that's not even counting Menagerie, the former proposed prison of an entire race. This world is constantly creating as much bad as it does any good, and yet it's so alive and unique with its differing parts and pieces. We know now what the wider world is like, full of danger, aggression, pride, and debauchery, and yet full of passion, fortitude, character, and hope. And we now get to see this world and all its layers in the next volume. These World of Remnants have made for a more interesting look at what the new challenges may lie ahead for the kingdoms, its people, and our heroes. But that's all my thoughts. What are yours? What did you think about Vacuo? What else did you want to know? And which kingdom would you like to live in? Me personally, it's up there between Vale or Mistral, but let me know in the comments down below. As usual, like and fave the video if you wish, subscribe and click on the bell to know when more videos are out, and follow me on Twitter where I post anything about RWBY and beyond, as well as future video updates and anything else I want to say, at ThatKaitoDan. Until next time though, have a good day or good night, and peace out.